A lot of very images you haven't seen before. And I hadn't seen the one with Nichelle and I got to use this name. President Obama doing that. I can't do it with this one. But interesting story about the woman who learned to do that in one time. The one who played the monarch from Vulcan. Leonard Nimoy came up with this hand salute right on the set and taught it to her, and she couldn't do it. So they had to place her hand in her lap, and the camera was from here up, and she rose her hand up. Next time you see a muck time, watch that, because she couldn't just do it any other way. But anyway, I know who you're here to see, so we're going to bring out Sean Kenney and Nichelle Nichols.
Thank you so very, very much. Thank you.
Now you all know Sean. Well, first of all, my name is Marc Cushman, and I wrote this book series called These Are the Voyages. One book for each season of the original Star Trek, about 700 pages each. And Gene Roddenberry got me started on this back in the 1980s. And I said, Gene, this is going to take a long time. Because they had 70 boxes of memos from the series and all the drafts and scripts and stories, every correspondence between him and the network and the staff and everything else. So it shows you what they were thinking with every single episode, including the way to eat, which I think you missed. She stayed home that day. And the ones that were great and the ones they couldn't make, and you get to see all that stuff in these books. And you feel like you're there watching the show being written, watching it being produced, and so forth. So that's who I am. And we were very fortunate to win a Saturn Award a couple months ago for the book series. So we have those out there. If you haven't seen them, thank you very much. And Sean's with his book is there, and Nichelle has her book out there. So there's plenty of goodies for you for Christmas if you want to take things home with you. But Nichelle and Sean, of course, you know from the episode Menagerie, he was, can you recognize him as the crippled Captain Pike? Maybe in about 40 years he'll look that way, I don't know, but not now. And then of course you were back in other episodes as a helmsman.
Exactly.
It's yours.
I came back as Lieutenant Bond with a real face, so that was something. And it was funny that Doc saw me on the set, and this is Bones, we call him Bones, but Doc DeForest Kelly, and he says, hey, you're new on this. I said, well, and the guy leans over and he says, he played Pike, and he goes, what, you played Pike? Damn, you're so young. So it was really odd to be 24 years old, and you're being made into an 80-year-old man. That's the story.
That's how good an actor you are.
Well, yeah, I couldn't talk. I had to go through my eyes, but
and
it worked.
Had to drink your meals through a straw.
Drink my meals through a straw.
We're going to talk about all that in a few minutes,
right.
but I just wanted to make sure, because you wouldn't recognize him from that episode, which I think they screened earlier, didn't they? No, they didn't show that earlier? Okay.
I don't think so.
But you can watch that when we get home. In a moment, Nichelle's going to share something very special with you. Before I forget, I just want to first of all thank Art Cohen from the Bluelight Cinema.
Yes.
Wave your hand, Art. For helping put this together and giving us a place to do it. Have to mention this because we just had an amazing meal right next door over here. You just walk over to a place called O.J. Sliders, organic food and gourmet burgers.
Excellent. Very, very good. Thank you.
We had not just regular burgers, because you don't eat beef. They had crab burgers, they had lamb burgers.
They made crab burgers for me and lamb burgers.
Every burger you can imagine. And what was that dessert you were eating? It was southern banana.
Banana pudding, that's right. Exactly.
So there's some cards out there on one of the
Southern
tables. I'm not joking. I'm not saying this just because we got a free meal. This was an amazing free meal. So you got to do that.
It was so good that I would have paid for it, but please don't tell me.
And of course, we also have to thank the Cupertino Library that put this event together. To bring us all up here and everything else, so we'll be thanking them again tonight before it was over. But on the airplane up, Nichelle, because, you know, coming here, which is really an area where so much technology is now coming out of and being realized. Ideas that started on Star Trek are being realized here. So Nichelle prepared something that she's going to read to you, and this is just for this event, okay?
Yes, indeed. He asked me to speak. Is something wrong with it? No, Are you there? Can you hear me? Okay. I'm going to turn a little bit because I wrote it last night, between last night and this morning, and if I don't read it, I won't know what it says. I know what it says, but I would be remiss not to give you all my wonderful words. So I just wanted to say thank you for having me here, and everyone for coming out in this rainy evening. There's a reason why a television series lives on as long as Star Trek has lived. It makes the right concept and the right casting. I mean, it takes the right concept and the right casting, but it also takes the right message. And that was something that Gene Roddenberry was very good at, giving you the right message. Star Trek had that message, and it still does. It gave us hope for a fortunate future with unlimited possibilities. But it also reminded us that it was our responsibility to achieve those goals. In the late 1960s, when so much in America and around the planet seemed to be coming undone, we needed to hear that message. Star Trek strove to put many timely issues into proper perspective. It allowed fans to see both sides and possible solutions using a starship called the Enterprise as the guide. The IDIC was one of the brilliant concepts Gene Roddenberry came up with. And those are only that was one of many. It stands for infinite diversity and infinite combinations. Think about that. Think about what that means for a moment. Infinite diversity and infinite combinations. We are all representative. The philosophy of, we're all representatives. The philosophy of IDIC, different ages, different races, different sexes, different backgrounds, different talents and abilities, all with the potential of combining togetherness, turning our diversity into beautiful harmony. With understanding and acceptance, the potential is limitless. That was Gene Roddenberry's dream. Thank you. That was his, are we still there? That was Gene Roddenberry's dream. And that is why Star Trek, much more than a television series, and something that has lasted for much longer than its intended 5-year mission. And that's all of y'all's fault. And I love you, each and every one of you, for it. And that That was another constant theme of Star Trek. Self-sacrifice. Now you go and say, I don't want to sacrifice anything anymore. But just think about it. It's an honor. You heard it spoken in one of the movies. The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. When I first heard that, I went, I'm just one, that's a few. I don't think I'm going to outweigh mine, you know. And then you begin to think about it and the things that happen to you in your life. That thought comes back to you at that time, and you say, oh, I kind of know what that means now, what that meant now. And, where am I? The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, or the one. When you're willing to risk who you are for the betterment of others, wow. For other people, other races, other species, other worlds, then that is the rare definition of a hero. And Star Trek was filled with heroes. It wasn't enough for Gene Roddenberry to write about one hero among us. He had a whole starship of heroes. And I had a role where I had the ability to tell them where to go. And Star Trek was filled with heroes. Heroes served its role models, served as role models and teachers. They did so then in the 1960s, and they do so now. Ironically, I didn't understand any of this in the very beginning. And I was the communications officer. There I was, the communications officer, but I wasn't getting the message at first. You may know the story. For those who do not, I'd like to share it with you now. I really don't want to, but it fits here. It's kind of embarrassing sometimes. It was a wonderful moment in my life when I first discovered the true meaning and importance and power of Star Trek. We were only 1 year old, and I was thinking of leaving the show because I had an offer on Broadway. Now that might not seem like a lot to you, but I grew up, my whole life and everything that I studied was to star on Broadway. Okay. I told Gene that I would not be returning for the second season, which he was not pleased about at all. Welcome back. Soon after that, I attended a fundraiser where a fan came over to me to say how much he and his family enjoyed Star Trek and how happy they were to see me, a black woman. I kind of just, looked at him and, oh, yeah, I guess there is something to be said about that, because that's who I am, what I am. And as a part of that amazing cast, I thanked him. He said that I would be, but I said that I would be leaving the show. I didn't think I got another word out of my mouth because he told me that I could not leave. And I said to myself, what you talking about, man? He told me that my being part of that series sent out a positive message to people of all colors, all ages, that we were important to the future of this country and therefore to the world. It was that infinite diversity and infinite combinations message that Gene and his staff would write about. This fan understood that. He had been watching us communicated, but he had a better perspective of what we were doing than I did, because he had been working diligently to do the same thing. He was Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. Dr. King helped me to understand that I could really make a difference, even if I were only putting on the, if I were only acting the part. Yeah. For 1 hour a week, I was able to help millions of people believe that there was a fantastic future ahead of them if they worked together and didn't give up, never give up. He also made me realize that I too couldn't give up. Decades later, I was approached by NASA. They had heard a speech that I had given and wanted me to help them recruit women, the first women for the astronaut program. I said to myself, wow, they've come a long way, baby. NASA felt because I was the first woman to be sent into space, that I could inspire others to follow me to that place where no other woman had gone before. Almost done. Now women were signing up who hadn't even dreamed of trying out before, Women of different colors and diverse backgrounds. They were responding to me, and to them, I was Star Trek. My first year, my 5-year mission has turned into a lifetime mission, a mission to remind you that despite the doubts we can all sometimes feed when reading or watching the news, there is a fantastic future ahead of us, for all of us. It starts with an idea and a belief. Where am I? That each of us can make a difference. That we can preserve the best. Thank you. We can preserve the best of the past and create what is needed in the future. You can be the Captain Kirks of tomorrow, the Mr. Spock of tomorrow, the Dr. McCoys, the Scotties, the Sulus, the Chekhovs, oh, and yes, the Uhuras. It is within your reach because it is within your power in infinite combinations, and that is truly an empowering thing to be. May you live long and prosper. I thought it was just going to be a little something, and it just kept writing itself, so thank
She
you.
read it to us this morning. We said, well, you got to do that tonight. Of course, this morning we didn't realize you would have light pouring in your face
Yes.
and nothing coming from behind.
Yes.
Words on paper become invisible.
I turned my back and
You know, that might have worked. Mark Cohen, would you come up because we have a little surprise for Nichelle?
First off, before I present the little surprise for Nichelle, I first want to say a few thank you words, but you know, I'm really very hot.
That's something else about being up here.
you look better too. That is so cool.
It's going to be a red shirt.
No red shirt.
I want to thank OG Sliders for hosting dinner this evening. Thank you again. Also want to thank the Cupertino Inn for hosting, and also thank Emerging Artists Productions for this production. All this is being live video recorded. And I also like to thank the Cupertino Library, and I'd also like to give an opportunity for this event would not happen if it was not for the Cupertino Library Foundation, which I am board member, and I'd like Schmidt to come up, just say a few words about the foundation, what it's about, and I just wanted to give him an opportunity because without their generosity, this event would not be here.
Thanks very much, Art. I am Schmidt, President of the Cupertino Library Foundation. I'll make this brief, but we're a board composed of all volunteers. We sponsor a number of different kinds of activities during the year, and recently we've helped with educational activities where middle school students are encouraged to use the library's databases and rich online resources